Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram.
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 Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram Bolo Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram.
Sita Ram, 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 Sita Ram. Haribol, Jai Sitaram, Jai Lakshman, Jai Hanuman. We're here today assembled on the holy, very auspicious appearance day of Lord Ramacandra. And Lord Ramacandra, I was reading, how many of you have the Laghu Bhagavatamrita that the BBT has just come out with by Rupa Goswami? Not yet? Oh, you should all get it. It's a very nice book and they're distributing it here. I was reading it in Hawaii and I finished it and I gave it to a friend of mine there because it was just going to be a lot of extra luggage to carry and I didn't want to pay. But in there I learned for the first time, I've been in the Hare Krishna movement like 40 years or something, over 40 years. But in reading that book by Rupa Goswami, I learned for the first time, the thesis of the book, of course, is to explain and defend the Parabhasha shloka of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Ete Changsakala Pungsang Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. That after describing in the third chapter of the first canto so many different incarnations of Godhead, then Sutta Goswami says that Krishna himself is Bhagavan Swayam. He's the avatari, the original avatar from whom all the other avatars emanate. But in the course of explaining that, Rupa Goswami explains all of the different kinds of avatars, Purusha avatars and Manu avatars and Guna avatars and Lila avatars and so many different things. And he says there's one very special, you may not have heard this because if you haven't read this book, there's one very special kind of avatar, Paravasta avatar, and there's three of them. Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Ramacandra, and Lord Krishna. They each happen to have killed Jaya, was it Jaya or Vijaya? I think it's Jaya, as Hiranyakashipu and Ravana and Shishupal. And so he's explaining there's something, and they're increasing in their attractive features, but they're the most especially attractive avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Lord Nrsingadev is very attractive, but Lord Rama is something very special and more than that. And then even more is Lord Krishna. And when Lord Krishna killed Shishupal, he finally, after mentioning Lord Krishna's name so many times, intending to insult Krishna, he got enough purified that when he saw the disc coming at him, he appreciated the beauty of Krishna's lotus eyes, and he finally surrendered to Krishna and was able to regain his post as the gatekeeper in Vaikuntha. So, but Lord Ramacandra is very, very special, and everyone knows, all the Vaishnava devotees love Lord Ramacandra a great deal. He has a very special rasa that's full of chivalry. he keeps his vow, he protects his wife, he takes a vow of only having one wife, and his pastimes are very, very attractive and sweet in this mood of, as the ideal king, as the ideal human, someone who's very dharmic and does everything properly. And it's just a very special spiritual ecstasy or emotion that the devotees of Rama relish. So, how many of you at home have a full set of Srimad Bhagavatam? Almost all of you. In this temple, they're distributing many sets of Bhagavatam. In particular, for this Holy Appearance Day of Rama, they had the monthly Sankirtan festival, and they'll announce later how many sets they sold. But everyone should get a set. And in the 9th canto, Shukadev Goswami tells the pastimes of Lord Ramacandra in synopsis form, very briefly. He says, I'll read it to you, that he says to King Parikshit, you've already heard extensively about Lord Ramacandra from great authorities, so I'll just give you a synopsis. He's moving on to get to the 10th canto very shortly. But all of you should get those of you who don't have a set yet, you should get a set. You should serve it daily. You can treat it like a deity. You can offer water to it, a tulsi leaf, or a little dried fruit to your Srimad Bhagavatam set, but especially serve it by actually opening it and reading it. Just a little bit every day. Our Keshava Bharati Swami is reading 41 pages a day out loud wherever he goes, and he finds that a crowd gathers and they have very deep and wonderful discussions as he's reading his daily. 41 pages a day is calculated to finish in 1 year. Hanumat Preshak Swami has been doing that discipline for many, many years. He reads 1 canto per month, and then in Kartik he reads the 10th canto. So I thought, rather than, we've all been hearing, I think, reading the translation of Valmiki's Ramayana that's been being read by Shasika and other devotees, and I thought we would read some of the Shukadev Goswami's descriptions here. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Sthapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupang Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Some devotee asked Srila Prabhupada when we chant Hare Rama, to whom does Rama refer? And Srila Prabhupada said it can be Lord Balaram, it can be Ramacandra, it can be Parashuram. Rama means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the highest pleasure, the eternal pleasure. So it's not you don't have to think it means Lord Ramacandra, but on the other hand, you're perfectly entitled to call out to Lord Ramacandra when you chant the Hare Krishna mantra. I'll start on Canto 9, Chapter 10, text number 2. Tasyapi Bhagavanesha Sakshad Brahma Mayo Harihi Angshang Shena Chaturdhagat Putratvang Prartitak Surahi Rama Lakshmana Bharata Shatrugna iti sangyaya. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with His expansion and expansions of the expansion. Their holy names were Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrugna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasharatha. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. I'm not going to read all the purports because I'm going to try to get through as much of the chapter as we can. Lord Ramacandra and his brothers Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrugna are all Vishnu Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many, many forms. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva has many forms and incarnations. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 539, Ramadi Murti Shukalani Amena Tishtan. The Lord is situated in many forms such as Rama, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrugna. And these forms may exist in any part of His creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. Lord Ramacandra, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrugna, who, being Vishnu Tattva, are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dasharatha in response to the prayers by the demigods. So we're all familiar with the story also in Krishna Lila that Mother Earth came and the demigods prayed to Lord Brahma, and he went to the shore of the ocean of milk and prayed to Lord Vishnu there, asking for relief from the demons. And Lord Brahma revealed that he would, that Vishnu had revealed that he would soon be coming to relieve the earth of its burden and kill the demons, and that all the demigods should take birth and participate. And the very same thing, as you're probably familiar, is described in the pastime of Lord Ramacandra, that the demigods also went to Lord Brahma to pray for relief from the demons, and at this time Lord Vishnu said, I'll come as Rama and relieve the earth. So, O King Parikshit, the transcendental activities of Lord Ramacandra have been described by great saintly persons who have seen the truth. Because you have heard again and again about Lord Ramacandra, the husband of Mother Sita, I shall describe these activities only in brief. Please listen. I like that we have the nice green cloth. In the Ramayana, the color of Lord Rama is described as Sham. And in the paintings in the western and northern part of India, he's often depicted like Krishna's color of bluish. But in the southern India and in the eastern part, in Bengal and Orissa, he's depicted green color. In fact, in his Sadbhuj form, when Lord Chaitanya comes and he displays a form with 6 arms, the 2 arms are the green arms of Lord Ramacandra with a bow and arrow. And then there's Krishna with his, what is he holding? Chakra and... No, Krishna. Flute. Shankha chakra. No, in the Shadbhuj form. Rama has the bow and arrow, and then Krishna has a flute and a stick. And then the golden arms are holding a staff and a kamandalu and a pot. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Modern Rakshasas, posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates, have tried to prove that Lord Ramacandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary person. One time I was at UC Berkeley, and I was talking to one of the professors in the Sanskrit department. She was the wife of the professor who was heading up the translation of Valmiki's Ramayana into English, a big project that they were doing. And she took this, she read this from Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, and it hurt her, she took it very much to heart. And I tried to tell her, please don't feel bad. Lord Rama's in everyone's heart and he loves you too, even though you're a professor. Modern Rakshasas, posing as educationally advanced merely because they have doctorates, have tried to prove that Lord Ramacandra is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary person. But those who are learned and spiritually advanced will never accept such notions. They will accept the descriptions of Lord Ramacandra and his activities only as presented by Tattvadarshis, those who know the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita 4:34, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Unless one is tattvadarshi, in complete knowledge of the absolute truth, one cannot describe the activities of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, although there are many so-called Ramayanas, or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, some of them are not actually authoritative. Sometimes Lord Ramachandra's activities are described in terms of one's own imaginations, speculations, or material sentiments. But the characteristics of Lord Ramachandra should not be handled as something imaginary. While describing the history of Lord Ramachandra, Shukadev Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit, "You have already heard about the activities of Lord Ramachandra. Apparently, therefore, 5,000 years ago there were many Ramayanas, or histories of Lord Ramachandra's activities, and there are many still. But we must select only those books written by Tattvadarshis, Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha, not the books of so-called scholars who claim knowledge only on the basis of a doctorate. This is a warning by Shukadev Goswami. Rishibhis Tattvadarshibhihi. Although the Ramayana composed by Valmiki is a huge literature, the same activities are summarized here by Shukadev Goswami in a few verses." So this is an important point, that we should hear the pastimes of Rama and Krishna and all his avatars and the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, but we should try to hear from pure devotees. In the beginning of the 10th canto, after he's heard about the pastimes of Rama and he's heard all the 9 cantos, and King Parikshit is in great ecstasy and he's very eager to hear more now, especially to hear the 10th canto pastimes of Lord Krishna in such detail and such beautiful poetry that he knows Shukadev will speak. And he says, Nivrittatarshaya rupagiyamana bhaval shadhach trotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanavanat pumang virajyeta, thank you, vina pashugnat. Pashugnat means the killer of the pashu. Pashu can be interpreted as a beast, like butchers who kill animals, or people who buy the meat, who cook the meat, who eat the meat. They're all in the category of killers of animals. And such animal killers have a disqualification. They might not be attracted to hear. But what Parikshit Maharaj is saying, that only the Pashugnas, the other interpretation of Pashu could be the soul or the super soul, the living life force that animates the body. And the gross materialists, or people who deny the existence of eternal dual relationship of servitorship to the super soul, may also not become attracted to glorifying or hearing the glories of Lord Rama or Lord Krishna. But he's saying that when it's described he's glorifying Shukadev Goswami, that because you are a complete Paramahansa, completely liberated person, Nivrittatarshaya, that you have no interest in sense gratification, and you're describing these pastimes of Krishna, Uttama Shloka, the Lord who's praised by beautiful poetry, that every human will be attracted, except those who are gross materialists or butchers. They might not be attracted. So he's saying, who wouldn't be attracted except the Pashugnas? So we should hear from an authorized source, especially we should try to hear from a pure devotee. We're hearing here from Prabhupada and discussing Prabhupada. I don't have that quality like Shukadev Goswami, but I've been asked to do this service, which is a nice opportunity among all of you to discuss these words of Srila Prabhupada and Shukadev Goswami, and to remember the glories of Lord Ramacandra. And anyone, please feel free to raise your hand and make a comment at any time. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramacandra immediately gave up the position of king, and accompanied by his wife, Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman, king of the monkeys, or by another monkey, Sugriva, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshman, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and ears of Shurpankhaka, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord, Ramacandra, give us all protection. You can see that, and those of you who are familiar with the Ramayana, he's giving it in a very brief form. In one verse, he's summarizing so much, like 4 of the khandas, or 3 or 4 of the khandas. In the arena of sacrifice performed by Vishvamitra, Lord Ramacandra, the king of Ayodhya, killed many demons, rakshasas, and uncivilized men who wandered at night in the mode of darkness. May Lord Ramacandra, who killed these demons in the presence of Lakshmana, be kind enough to give us protection. So now he's going back to, I think, is it Balakanda or the next one? I think. O king, the pastimes of Lord Ramacandra were wonderful, like those of a baby elephant. In the assembly where Mother Sita was to choose her husband, in the midst of the heroes of this world, he broke the bow belonging to Lord Shiva. This bow was so heavy that it was carried by 300 men. But Lord Ramacandra bent and strung it and broke it in the middle, just as a baby elephant breaks a stick of sugar cane. Thus the Lord achieved the hand of Mother Sita, who was equally as endowed with transcendental qualities of form, beauty, behavior, age, and nature. Indeed, she was the goddess of fortune who constantly rests on the chest of the Lord. While returning from Sita's home, after gaining her at the assembly of competitors, Lord Ramacandra met Parashuram. Although Parashuram was very proud, having rid the earth of the royal order 21 times, he was defeated by the Lord, who appeared to be a Kshatriya in the royal order. Parashuram was very powerful. He was able to kill the whole population of Kshatriyas 21 times, but he was defeated by this one Kshatriya, Lord Ramacandra. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramacandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residence, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life, and went to the forest with Sita. While wandering in the forest, where he accepted a life of hardship, carrying his invincible bow and arrows in his hand, Lord Ramacandra deformed Ravana's sister, who was polluted with lusty desires, by cutting off her nose and ears. He also killed her 14,000 Rakshasa friends, headed by Kara, Trishira, and Dushana. O King Parikshit, when Ravana, who had 10 heads on his shoulders, heard about the beautiful and attractive features of Sita, his mind was agitated by lusty desires, and he went to kidnap her. To distract Lord Ramacandra from his ashram, Ravana sent Maricha in the form of a golden deer, and when Lord Ramacandra saw that wonderful deer, he left his residence and followed it, and finally killed it with a sharp arrow, just as Lord Shiva killed Daksha. When Ramacandra entered the forest, and Lakshmana was also absent, the worst of the Rakshasas, Ravana, kidnapped Sita Devi, the daughter of the king of Videha, just as a tiger seizes unprotected sheep when the shepherd is absent. Then Lord Ramacandra wandered in the forest with his brother Lakshmana, as if very much distressed due to separation from his wife. Thus he showed by his personal example the condition of a person attached to women. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the words Sri Sanginam Gatim Iti indicate that the condition of a person attached to women was shown by the Lord himself. According to moral instructions, Grihe Naring Vivarjayet, when one goes on a tour, one should not bring his wife. Formerly, men used to travel without conveyances. But still, as far as possible, when one leaves home, one should not take his wife with him, especially if one is in such a condition as Lord Ramacandra when banished by the order of his father. Whether in the forest or at home, if one is attached to women, this attachment is always troublesome, as shown by the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his personal example. Of course, this is the material side of Sri Sangi. But the situation of Lord Ramacandra is spiritual, for he does not belong to the material world. Narayana Paro Vyaktat. Narayan is beyond the material creation. Because he is the creator of the material world, he is not subject to the conditions of the material world. The separation of Lord Ramacandra from Sita is spiritually understood as Vipralamba, which is an activity of the Hladini potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, belonging to the Sringara Rasa, the mellow of conjugal love in the spiritual world. So this is an important point, that Lord Ramacandra is actually Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. He's completely transcendental, and he doesn't have any material qualities. And in fact, although he seems to be in difficulty, his wife is kidnapped, he has to make allies, he could just, with a blink of his eye, kill Ravana. In fact, Sita mentions to Ravana that she could kill him, but instead she cursed him that he'll be killed by Rama. But the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like that. They're especially attractive to, that we should become attracted to hearing these wonderful transcendental pastimes of the Personality of Godhead, who does everything wonderfully. And we should lose attraction for hearing about mundane heroes who aren't the Personality of Godhead in the movies, in novels and cinema and so forth. But the lamentation for the loss of the lover that we see in the Ramayana, or also in the Srimad Bhagavatam when the gopis lament about Krishna's absence, is actually a very high state of spiritual ecstasy. The ecstasy of devotional service is not a static thing. It doesn't just stay one thing. It's always growing and moving and changing. And Krishna expands it by alternating waves of meeting and separation. And we should understand that in the pastimes of Lord Ramacandra, the same is going on. Some people, unqualified commentators, say that the Uttarakhanda, Hare Krishna, when Lord Rama banished Sita because of the rumors that she had been unfaithful, even though he knew she was completely faithful, and she was pregnant. He didn't know she was pregnant. Of course, he's the Personality of Godhead, he knows everything. But people say, oh, this isn't, this is too cruel. This couldn't, it was added later by someone else. Valmiki didn't write it. I've heard such things by mundane speculators and commentators. But these are actually spiritual pastimes, and that display the mood of Vipralamba, and are designed to fully express transcendental love, fully explain the whole story of transcendental love, including being separated from the beloved. That's an important part of transcendental love. And you could say the same thing about Krishna. He promised the gopis he would return shortly, and then he left them to just burn in the anguish of separation. But that anguish that they describe as anguish, that may seem like that to a person who compares it to material emotions, they haven't been able to enter into the real emotion, which is a kind of ecstasy that causes one even a more intense longing for the personality of Godhead and His service. And then, as I said before, there's alternating waves of separation and then meeting. But even in separation, as is described in the Bhagavatam and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in great detail, the devotees can't stop thinking about Krishna or Rama, and their meditation on him is even more intense. That he's always present, just like the Brahma Samhita says, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaksa daiva hridayeshu vilokayanti, that those whose eyes are smeared with the salve of love, they always see the Lord within their heart of hearts. And there's another part of the Brahma Samhita that talks about how his glory of his pastimes ever dominates the mundane world and is recollected in the minds of devoted souls like that. So when the devotee is feeling the Lord's separation and his absence, the anguish of his absence, as he allowed Sita to feel in her banishment, or in her, or having been kidnapped, and when he himself feels anguish, when she enters the earth in the end, she comes back with Valmiki and Kusha and Lava are there. Lord Ramacandra has been performing a horse sacrifice for 14,000 years or something, and then she enters into the earth, and then he feels great anguish. But that anguish is not like the lamentation of someone for a materialistic person who's in illusion. It's actually an ecstasy of devotional service. And it should be understood like that. In the spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the dealings of love, displaying the symptoms called sattvika, sanchari, vilapa, morcha, and unmada. Thus, when Lord Ramacandra was separated from Sita, all these spiritual symptoms were manifested. The Lord is neither impersonal nor impotent. Rather, He is Satchidananda Vigraha, the eternal form of knowledge and bliss. Thus, He has all the symptoms of spiritual bliss. Feeling separation from one's beloved is also an item of spiritual bliss. As explained by Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir, Hladini Shaktihi. The dealings of love between Radha and Krishna are displayed as the pleasure potency of the Lord. The Lord is the original source of all pleasure, the reservoir of all pleasure. Lord Ramacandra, therefore, manifested the truth, both spiritually and materially. Materially, those who are attached to women suffer. But spiritually, when there are feelings of separation between the Lord and His pleasure potency, the spiritual bliss of the Lord increases. This is further explained in Bhagavad Gita. Abhajananti mang mudha manushing tanamashritam parang bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. One who does not know the spiritual potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead thinks of the Lord as an ordinary human being. But the Lord's mind, intelligence, and senses can never be affected by material conditions. This fact is further explained in the Skanda Purana, as quoted by Madhvacharya. I'll skip the Sanskrit. It was actually impossible for Ravana to take away Sita. The form of Sita taken by Ravana was an illusory representation of Mother Sita, Maya Sita. When Sita was tested in the fire, this Maya Sita was burnt, and the real Sita came out of the fire. A further understanding to be derived from this example is that a woman, however powerful she may be in the material world, must be given protection. For as soon as she is unprotected, she will be exploited by Rakshasas like Ravana. Here the words Vaideha Raja Duhi Tari indicate that before Mother Sita was married to Lord Ramacandra, she was protected by her father Vaideha Raja. The king of Vaideha was Janaka. And when she was married, she was protected by her husband. Therefore, the conclusion is that a woman should always be protected. According to the Vedic rule, there is no scope for a woman's being independent. Asamaksham, for a woman cannot protect herself independently. there shouldn't be cause for feeling like it's inequality. It's describing Dharma and what happens, that women should be given protection from the demons like Ravana, who are lusty and will attack them. Lord Ramacandra, whose lotus feet are worshipped by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, had assumed the form of a human being. Thus he performed the funeral ceremony of Jatayu, who was killed by Ravana. The Lord then killed the demon named Kabandha, and after making friends with the monkey chiefs, killing Vali and arranging for the deliverance of Mother Sita, he went to the beach of the ocean. The story of Jatayu is a very moving story of how he tried to prevent Ravana from kidnapping. Whether Rama had been lured away by the golden deer, which Sita wanted him to capture for her, and then Ravana, it was all a trick by Ravana to kidnap her. And Jatayu, vulture, an elderly, actually the nephew of Garuda, was witnessing this and tried to put up a valiant struggle, even though he was no match for Ravana, and his wing was cut off, but he helped, and his brother helped find Sita. He gave Rama information about that she was kidnapped by Ravana. After reaching the beach, Lord Ramacandra fasted for 3 days, awaiting the arrival of the ocean personified. When the ocean did not come, the Lord exhibited his pastimes of anger, and simply by glancing over the ocean, all the living entities within it, including the crocodiles and sharks, were agitated by fear. Then the personified ocean fearfully approached Lord Ramacandra, taking all paraphernalia to worship him. Falling at the Lord's lotus feet, the personified ocean spoke as follows. Natvang vayang jadadyo nuvedama bhuman kutastam adi purushang jagatam adhisham yat sattvatak suragana rajasak prajesha manyoscha bhuta patayak sabhavan guneshaha. O all-pervading Supreme Person, we are dull-minded and did not understand who you are. But now we understand that you are the Supreme Person, the Master of the entire universe, the unchanging and original personality of Godhead. The demons are infatuated with the mode of goodness, the Prajapatis with the mode of passion, and the Lord of Ghosts with the mode of ignorance. But you are the master of all these qualities. Purport. The word Jaradhiya refers to intelligence like that of an animal. A person with such intelligence cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without being beaten, an animal cannot understand the purpose of a man. Similarly, those who are dull-minded cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but when punished severely by the modes of material nature, they begin to understand him. A Hindi poet has said, Dukh se sab hari bhaje, sukh se bhaje koi, sukh se agar hari bhaje, dukh katan se hoy. When one is distressed, he goes to church. Forgive my pronunciation. Main Hindi nahi bol sakta. When one is distressed, he goes to church or temple to worship the Lord, but when opulent, he forgets the Lord. Therefore, punishment by the Lord through material nature is necessary in human society. For without it, men forget the supremacy of the Lord due to their dull, blunt intelligence. By the way, does anyone know who the poet is that Srila Prabhupada is referring to? Kabir? Kabir. Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he mentioned this poem in connection with the idea that materialistic people are more attracted to doing charity than they are to worshiping God, to doing charity to help the poor and the hungry and so forth, which is certainly all right. We're supposed to be merciful. Devotees are merciful. Bali Sheshu, Dvisatshucha, Premon Maitra Kripopeksha. So kripa, one shows kripa for the innocent. And certainly one should be sympathetic to their distressed position, but to really help them, one has to also give them not simply food, but prasadam, not simply to give them relief from their material suffering, which is actually, ordained. What is it? What's the verse? Daivinetrena. Someone help me, Navina. What's the verse about how by Krishna's arrangement, karmana daivinetrena? Anyway, yeah, so this verse is there in the third canto. The idea is that because of our deeds that we do, we're being put in particular situation, in the particular womb of a particular mother, in a particular species, or a particular family. 331.1. Who has the microphones? Can you give a microphone to Gandharvika? Karmana daivanetrena jantur deho pattaye. It's on the board now.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Daivanaitrena Jantu Dehopapattaye Striya Pravishta Udaram Pumsoretak Kanashrayaha.
Translation.
The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of a male semen to assume a particular type of body.
So Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that sometimes people are attracted. For example, some people say, we have to serve Daridra Narayan. They say. But Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's guru, said this is a ridiculous idea that Narayan is poor. Actually, Narayan is very opulent. He's the Lord of Vaikuntha. But we can show mercy to poor people, but we shouldn't forget to serve actual Narayan. Or sometimes they say, it's particularly, it's a popular slogan of Vivekananda that Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. But a lot of people, I've met people, especially Bengali people, I've gone to speak to them about Lord Chaitanya and sell them a set of Chaitanya Charitamritas, and they say, I'm not so much interested in that religious stuff. Manava Seva is Madhava Seva. It becomes a way of, rather than recognizing that the personality of Godhead is in the heart of every human being, and indeed in the heart of every living being, and no living being should be put into distress or treated with adharma. Everyone should be treated properly and with pious activity. But it becomes an excuse for not serving Krishna. I don't go to the temple. I believe in doing charity for human beings. That's the real way to serve Krishna. And that's not accepted by great saintly personalities, that idea. So the idea here is that Krishna actually puts us in distressed conditions to help remind us, because we're like dull animals. That in the play Hamlet, there's a couple of clowns at the side of a grave site. That's the comic relief in the play, and one of them, who's a very clever wordsmith, he has a lot of puns and things like that. He asks the other gravedigger a riddle, and the other gravedigger, is trying to figure out the answer. And he says, "Cudgel thy wits no more, for it is a dull ass that cannot be mended by beating," or something like that. So the point is that, an intelligent human being will learn by hearing from an authorized source, and will, just by hearing, will then take up the right action. Less intelligent may have to be beaten to learn, and even less intelligent may be beaten and still not learn anything. So here it's being compared that Jadadhiya, someone with a dull intelligence or dull mentality, may have to be beaten by experience miseries of the modes of material nature, to become humble and to pray to the Lord for mercy. My Lord, you may use my water as you like. Indeed, you may cross it and go to the abode of Ravana, who is the great source of disturbance and crying for the three worlds. He is the son of Ishrava, but is condemned like urine. He's a Brahmin. Ravana was born as the son of a Brahmin, but then he didn't act like a Brahmin. He stole Sita. So, even though he was very intelligent and in many ways and knew Vedic culture very well, when it came to understanding the personality of Godhead, Lord Rama, he completely failed the class. F-. Please go kill him, and thus regain your wife Sita Devi. O great hero, although my water presents no impediment to your going to Lanka, please construct a bridge over it to spread your transcendental fame. Upon seeing this wonderfully uncommon deed of your lordship, all the great heroes and kings in the future will glorify you. I'm just going to read part of this purport to the end. Lord Ramacandra, however, constructed a bridge over the water with stone by making the stone float. This is proof of God's uncommonly wonderful power. Why should someone be accepted as God without displaying extraordinary potency by doing something never to be done by any common man? We accept Lord Ramacandra as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he constructed this bridge, and we accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he lifted Govardhan Hill when he was only 7 years old. We should not accept any rascal as God or an incarnation of God, for God displays special features in his various activities. Therefore, the Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evang yoveti tatvataha tyaktva dehang punar janma naiti mamiti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. The activities of the Lord are not common. They are all transcendently wonderful and not able to be performed by any other living being. The symptoms of the Lord's activities are all mentioned in the Shastras, and after one understands them, one can accept the Lord as he is. Shukadeva Goswami said, after constructing a bridge over the ocean by throwing into the water the peaks of mountains, whose trees and other vegetation had been shaken by the hands of great monkeys, Lord Ramacandra went to Lanka to release Sita Devi from the clutches of Ravana. With the direction and help of Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, the Lord, along with the monkey soldiers, headed by Sugriva, Nila, and Hanuman, entered Ravana's kingdom Lanka, which had previously been burnt by Hanuman. Purport: great mountain peaks covered with trees and plants were thrown into the sea by the monkey soldiers and began to float by the supreme will of the Lord. By the supreme will of the Lord, many great planets float weightlessly in space like swabs of cotton. If this is possible, why should great mountain peaks not be able to float on water? This is the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything and everything as he likes, because he is not under the control of the material nature. Indeed, material nature is controlled by him. Maya dyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. That's Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Only under his direction does prakriti, or material nature, work. Similarly, information is given in the Brahma Samhita, Yasyagyaya Brahmati Sangpritakala Chakro Govindamadi Purushang Tamahang Bhajami. Describing how material nature works, the Brahma Samhita says that the sun moves as desired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, for Lord Ramacandra to construct a bridge over the ocean, the Indian Ocean, with the help of monkey soldiers who threw great mountain peaks into the water, is not at all wonderful. It is wonderful only in the sense that it has kept the name and fame of Lord Ramacandra eternally celebrated. After entering Lanka, the monkey soldiers, led by chiefs like Sugriva, Nila, and Hanuman, occupied all the sporting houses, granaries, treasuries, palace doorways, city gates, assembly houses, palace frontages, and even the resting houses of the pigeons. When the city's crossroads, platforms, flags, and golden water pots on its domes were all destroyed, the entire city of Lanka appeared like a river disturbed by a herd of elephants. Previously, until very recently, actually, people used to use pigeons to carry messages back and forth. And I think those homing pigeons are now extinct. They have carrier pigeons, but people don't use them anymore with other forms of communication. When Ravana, the master of the Rakshasas, saw the disturbances created by the monkey soldiers, he called for Nikumbha, Kumbha, Dhumraksha, Durmukha, Surantaka, Narantaka, and other Rakshasas, and also his son Indrajit. Thereafter he called for Prahasta, Atikaya, Vikampana, and finally Kumbhakarna. Then he induced all his followers to fight against the enemies. Lord Ramacandra, surrounded by Lakshmana and monkey soldiers like Sugriva, Hanuman, Gandhamara, Nila, Angada, Jambavan, and Panasa, attacked the soldiers of the Rakshasas, who were fully equipped with various invincible weapons like swords, lances, bows, prasas, rishtis, shakti arrows, khatgas, and tomaras. Angada and the other commanders of the soldiers of Ramacandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses, and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs, and arrows. Thus the soldiers of Lord Ramacandra killed Ravana's soldiers, who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Purport: the soldiers Lord Ramacandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have the proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana, for Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and trees. It was only Lord Ramacandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows. But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. There are two kinds of strength, Daiva and Purashakara. Daiva refers to the strength achieved from transcendence, and Purashakara refers to strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Mamanusmara, Yudhya cha, think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is an important point. One time I was with His Holiness Bhakti-Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and he had this troupe of Manipuri dancers and martial artists who would come around and perform in different venues. And they did martial arts, and they would smash their swords together, and sometimes sparks would fly, or even little pieces of metal would fly out into the audience and everything. And I was discussing with some other friends that were there, and I said to Maharaj, you should get insurance because this thing could hurt someone and you have to be covered by it, covered by insurance. In fact, you'll probably need insurance to go into a lot of venues. And the friend was saying, oh no, Krishna will protect, he'll take care of everything. And I said, yes, Krishna will protect, but we're Krishna's servants and we have to serve him diligently to the best of our ability and with all the, intelligence that we have and all the modern weapons we have, like insurance. And Swarup Damodar Maharaj said, he's right, he said I was right at that time. So we should get the insurance, we should be, because we have to always depend on Krishna. Oh, thank you. We have to always depend on Lord Krishna for success in every endeavor, but at the same time we have to show Krishna that we're using our intelligence wisely. We've got some intelligence, we've got some abilities. So we have to use everything in Krishna's service and not just irresponsibly think, oh, because I have faith in Krishna, he'll take care of everything. But he wants to see us actually employ our senses, our mind, our intelligence, our wealth, our good name, reputation, our learning, anything we have for his devotional service, his glorification. And particularly for the mission that our spiritual master, founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada has given us. which is to spread the glories of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Here in ISKCON of Silicon Valley, we're determined to spread it all over the Bay Area. We have Harinam Prabhu and Navina Nerada now that are, with your blessings and with the grace of Krishna, they'll be starting a temple in San Francisco, very important city. Srila Prabhupada used to be very proud that he had established a temple in San Francisco. Later the temple was moved to Berkeley, but now we'll have one in Berkeley and San Francisco, I think. And to do that, these devotees will use all their knowledge and wisdom and ability and skills, and not just simply think, oh, if Krishna wants it, he'll make it happen. No, we have to show Krishna that we know, we understand what he wants, and we're depending on him, and then we're going out and doing the service. There's an old joke about an Irish mother that's watching her son in a boxing match, and he's looks like he's losing the match, and then there's a priest, an Irish father from the Catholic Church there watching, and the mother says, oh Father, please pray to God that my son will be protected. And he says, well, I'll pray, but it'll help if he can punch. So the monkey soldiers, even though they were fighting against the best of weapons and a very well-disciplined Rakshasa army, and they were just throwing rocks and trees, but they still were victorious because they were on the side of Lord Ramacandra, and they were fighting to the best of their ability with his grace. So we have a little time for reflections, comments or questions. Very little time. Yes, Prabhu. And you can read the rest of the pastimes. It goes on for another chapter after this, or maybe 2 chapters.
So I was telling small pastimes of Lord Ram in the morning. Some were not able to hear some, so I just repeat it, if you allow.
Please.
So when Mother Sita and Lord Ram is in the exile in the forest, so Sita, when they are traveling in Dandakaranya, and Sita asked Lord Ram that I will tell you a story, because they have to pass their time. So he said, of course. So Mother Sita told about one sage was staying in an ashram and meditating his sadhana for spiritual upliftment. And one day one king came and he said that, oh, I'm a little bit busy, let me keep my sword here, my weapon, and I will come back and collect it. Please take care. And he left. So the sage kept it a couple of days, and after that when he goes to the forest to collect woods, he said, why not take the sword and go. So he went to the forest, collect the wood and come back. After a few days, then he carries all the time the sword and just chopping here and there any trees he find. And he is very expert in using the sword now. So basically he forgot the things. So the moral of the story was Sita is saying that you are in exile. Why are you holding all the time the kodanda, that arrow and bow all the time? You have come here, Banvas, exiled to the forest, and you are killing demons all the time. Then he promised, in my next incarnation, I will not use weapon. And then when he appeared in the Krishna incarnation, he never actually used weapon. He killed Putana by sucking the breast. He killed Bhyomasura, or all by pushing them, kicking them. No.
At least in the Braja pastime.
In the Braja pastime. So again, Radharani was saying, oh, you didn't do much there, and now you tricked me. You didn't use your weapon, but again you're killing the business going on. So can you do something? He said, in my next incarnation, I promise I won't do anything, I will just give. That's why Lord Chaitanya came. And he gave the mercy only. No weapon, no killing, only mercy.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. There's a story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where one great astrologer comes to visit the house of Jagannath Mishra. And anyway, there's a long story leading up to it. But in the middle of the night, because Lord Chaitanya as a little boy is eating all the offerings he makes, and he can't worship his shalagram deity. And then finally, in the middle of the night, the boy asks the astrologer, "Can you please tell me what my last life was?" And the astrologer looks at his palm and he becomes astonished. And he says, "You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of all the universes. You're the master of the modes of material nature." And he goes on glorifying. And Lord Chaitanya says, "You're not a very good astrologer. I happen to know that in my last life I was a Vaishya, and because I took care of the cows nicely and did my duties nicely and served the cows, then in this life I got to take birth as a Brahmana." So we're going to have the announcement of the scores of the Sankirtan festival now, and then there'll be Arati and Prasadam. So thank you all very much. Jai Sita Ram. And I just wanted to leave you with the idea that this Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it's just a very concise description of the pastimes of Lord Ram, because there's a very big elaboration of the pastimes of Lord Krishna later on, but it's full of nectar, and Srila Prabhupada's purports are full of all kinds of transcendental knowledge that we can extract from the verses, these beautiful Sanskrit verses that Shukadev Goswami is speaking. I didn't have time to read all the Sanskrit verses, but they're prayers. Every shloka in this Srimad Bhagavatam, practically, so many shlokas and prayers that are just full of nectar and the greatest poetry and the greatest literature, the greatest philosophy. And so we should all read Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you don't have a copy yet, who doesn't have a set of Bhagavatams now? Earlier I asked, but there weren't many people here. Don't be shy. Let me know if you don't have a set. You don't have to buy one. Just raise your hand. So we have only one person is brave enough to admit that he doesn't have a set. I think that more of you don't. But please do get a chance. There's two. And if you do get a chance, the devotees have them and they can make a special price for you today because it's a very holy day and an auspicious day. And now they're going to announce the results of distributing Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna. Hare